So last week I made a post about making Starbucks egg cups and doing a mock recipe for that. And when I was doing it and I posted the picture on my Facebook page, I got a ton of requests for the recipe. But what you might not know is that cooking the eggs like this isn't really a recipe. It's kind of a cooking method. So the cooking method that Starbucks uses to make their famous egg cups is called Sous Vide. And that is a French cooking method, and it means under vacuum. So, or with vacuum. So it's actually a vacuum machine that you put water in and you cook at a very low temperature for a long time to produce the creamy, fluffy eggs. And the point of cooking them like that is so that the outside doesn't get more cooked than the inside. So when you cook them like that, you don't have that crust that you would have when you do a baked egg. And that's why they're so delicious, is because everybody likes that. So what I'm doing now is I'm preparing my cheese, and I'm using Swiss cheese, which is kind of the cheapo version of the Gruyere that Starbucks uses. So if you use Swiss cheese, you're probably not going to really notice the difference. Your kids certainly won't notice the difference. So I've also looked at many recipes online for this and have compared them. And with what I know about cooking, I'll tell you that every one of these steps is necessary to get the results. So, so the most important part of this recipe is we're going to do the bath. And y'all excuse the stack of stones. That's where I just, please pardon my stones. So we are going to boil water, and then we're going to put it in our oven on a cookie sheet or a pan or whatever you have. We're going to put it on the bottom rack. But we're going to have the water boiling before we put it in our oven that's been preheated to 300 degrees. So you're going to preheat your oven, boil your water, and then we're going to pour this in the pans and put it in there. So while we're waiting to do that, we're going to finish our eggs. So we're going to crack 6 eggs into our blender. And fun fact about eggs, did you know that if you buy fresh eggs and they haven't been washed, that you can store them on the shelf? They don't need to be refrigerated. Oops, I didn't mean to put that on. They don't need to be refrigerated. So I just wash my eggs as I use them. So we're going to do 6 eggs. We're going to do 1 1/3 cup of cottage cheese. And you might say you don't like cottage cheese, but that's how you make this. And that's going to go in the blender. The other thing I found on some recipes online is people saying that they didn't use a blender because they didn't want to wash it. And I'm like, that makes no sense. I don't even know why you own a blender if you don't want to wash it. And if you wash it right away, you just rinse it out. If you have the Pampered Chef blender, it washes itself. But this isn't a Pampered Chef video, although it looks like it is. Okay, and so we're going to do a little salt and pepper. And then the Starbucks recipe, they use hot sauce. And even though I'm just going to use the hot sauce because Starbucks does, but you don't have to do that. And then you're not going to put any mix-ins in your blender. You're only going to put in these ingredients: your eggs, your cottage cheese, your other cheese, which can really be any hard cheese, your hot sauce, and your salt and pepper. Do not put your mix-ins in the blender because we're going to blend this smooth. Some of the recipes said don't put your cheese in here. You absolutely want to put both cheeses in here, and we want to get the whole thing smooth. this off. That's all set. We're going to finish greasing our muffin pan, and you're gonna need a 12 cups, and I just use almond if you want to, but just make sure that they're nice and greased. And then we're going to put our mix in here, and these are gonna puff up, and then after you take them out of the oven, they're gonna kind of depuff some. But you don't want to fill these up, but you can fill them like 2/3 of the way up if you want to. More than we need. Probably don't want to overfill these. Okay, so we're doing that. And then our mix-ins, I would suggest not doing more than 2 mix-ins. And so this isn't a Starbucks mix-in, but I'm using it anyways. These are just some green chili mild peppers that I'm putting in here for mine. You can do any mix-ins, but I wouldn't do more than 2, and you don't want to stir them in, because if you stir them in, what that's going to do is it's going to break up your eggs, and then your eggs aren't going to be smooth and creamy. I mean, it'll still be fine, but I don't stir them in. Just put it in on the top and let it kind of settle where it's going to settle, but don't stir it. And then I'm just using bacon bits that are already made up. And now we've got our water in here, and we're gonna put this in the oven, and these are gonna go in here for 30 minutes. So literally the recipe that when I did it, I was able to do this recipe, replicate it from just memorizing it, even after only doing it the first time, because it's so easy. So we used 6 eggs, 1 1/3 cup of full fat cottage cheese. You can use 2% if you want to. Full fat is more keto. Then we're going to use 1 1/3 cup of our other cheese, 1 teaspoon of hot sauce, and then a little salt and a little pepper. And your 2 mix-ins, they're both completely optional. You don't have to do any mix-ins. Okay, so here we are. Rusty is waiting for his egg cup to magically drop to the floor, which sometimes things in this kitchen do drop to the floor, so he's gonna wait and see. So we've taken these out of the oven, and I've already taste tested one, and they're delicious. But the way I take these out is I just let them cool for like 1 minute, and then I just run my spoon around the edge like this, and then they're gonna come out of here. Maybe not totally perfect, but pretty good. And you can see how that is creamy around the edges, and these have already kind of depuffed, so they'll puff up and then they'll kind of shrink back down, but super creamy, perfectly baked, and they're creamy and smooth on the inside. These did come out really good. And so this is your homemade sous vide that you've made at home. So we figured out the math on this, and basically we've calculated these are about 30 cents a piece, and if you buy them at Starbucks, they're going to be $2.30 a piece. So this whole tray at Starbucks would cost almost $28, and making them at home, it's about $4. So this is great for your family to have in the morning, or you can put them in the refrigerator, and I heat up 2 at a time in the microwave for 1 minute.